All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back to continue day number 18 of Donald Trump's hush money trial, where Trump attorney Todd Blanche is continuing his cross-examination of Michael Cohen, who earlier admitted several times in a row to lying. Yes, lying. And of course, we get to hear it all thanks to our guy on the inside, Inner City Press, who is reporting from inside the courtroom and giving us a look at everything that is going on, what the judge is saying, what the prosecution is saying, and of course, what Trump's defense is saying. But before we finish out the day, so it looks like someone released some oddly shaped pink balloons right outside the courthouse with the faces of DA Alvin Bragg, Judge Merchan, and Jack Smith on the side of the balloons. And this is the video right here. Looks like they pulled up in a U-Haul and they just opened the back and all of these flew out of the back of the U-Haul. So yeah, that's some drama that's going on downtown right now. But without any further ado, let's go back into the courtroom where Todd Blanche and the prosecution are taking care of some housekeeping. And Todd Blanche says, all right, we have a draft curative instruction on the timing of the unsealing of the indictment, but it was my intention to rehabilitate the question right out of the box now. And Merchan says, all right, let me see it. And the prosecution says this is not something that should be cleaned up by Mr. Blanche. The court should do it. And Blanche says, the text made clear that the indictment was leaked. The detective said they told the New York Times before they told you. And Merchan said, I will watch it. And Merchan continues and he says, I am also informed that one juror says they have an appointment next Thursday at 1:30. I'd like to take it up with the juror at the break in the robing room. One lawyer from each side get the witness. And the lying liar, pants on fire, Michael Cohen retakes the stand. And attorney Todd Blanche for Trump continues the cross-examination. And he says, all right, Mr. Cohen, let us be clear. You don't have any evidence that anyone at the district attorney of New York leaked the indictment, do you? Cohen says, I don't. Blanche says it was unsealed on March the 30th. Yes. And Judge Merchan says, all right, please approach. They have a sidebar. And Todd Blanche continues, and when you went on TV, it was public, right? Yes, it was. And Blanche says, all right, put up the redacted exhibit. And one of these exhibits says, quote, I'm 14. What Blanche says, in 2011, you arranged for an article about how well Mr. Trump was polling and one about yourself, right? Yes. And how do you do this? Cohen says, I know reporters and I pitched them. So you're saying that you had a Rolodex of reporters? Yes. And you never responded without checking with Mr. Trump? Cohen says, once I had his answer, I might reuse it. Well, in May of 2011, Mr. Trump decided not to run. And later that year, you worked with Keith Davidson to get the dirty taken down. Haven't you told law enforcement that Mr. Trump's first statement was that his family would not like the Stormy Daniels story on thedirty.com very much? Is that your statement, Mr. Cohen? Cohen says, yes. And you recorded reporters a lot, didn't you, Mr. Cohen? Cohen says 40 times. And when did you stop recording reporters? Cohen says after the 2016 election. And you didn't record in 2017 and 2018? Cohen says I'd have to check. Blanche says, okay, we'll check together. Did you share a recording with Miss Haberman of another person? Did you sometimes record people without telling them, Mr. Cohen? Cohen says it's not illegal in New York. Blanche says that's not what I asked. Look at this list. Who else did you record, Mr. Cohen? Cohen says Jeff Zucker, Mr. Trump, and other reporters. And you know it's unethical for a lawyer to record his client, right? Cohen says there is a crime fraud exception. Blanche says to record Mr. Trump for Mr. Pecker to hear? Cohen says I was just giving an example. Well, the Dorman story, Mr. Trump did not want it getting out, even though it was false, right? Cohen said, yes, sir. And you didn't tell President Trump about the liquidation clause, did you? I did not. And you testified about a June 16th, 2016, 6:51 p.m. call to President Trump through Keith Schiller, but you say you were receiving and making thousands of calls. Cohen says, these were important, and I have been talking about them for 6 years. So you're telling me you have a specific recollection of this special call? Cohen says, based on the documents I've been shown. Okay, so that day, just before you called Chris Cuomo, do you remember that day? Cohen says, yes. When you were recording President Trump, you say it stopped recording because you got and answered a call. Cohen says, yes, it was from Capital One Bank. And do you remember what about? What was that phone call about, Mr. Cohen? Cohen says, no, I don't. It might have been about identity theft. It would have been the second time this has happened. And Judge Merchan interrupts and he says, all right, we're going to take our afternoon break. Fast forward, they're back. Just a reminder, they stopped early today. They stopped at, I believe, 4 o'clock. And Judge Merchan is speaking and he says, we spoke with the alternate in the robing room. Have you discussed it with your colleagues? And the prosecution says, we should not tell the jurors they'll stop next Thursday at 1 if we reach the point where we can release the alternate. And now Todd Blanche is continuing the cross-examination, and he says, Mr. Cohen, this NDA, it's a perfectly legal contract, isn't it? Cohen says, yes, it is. And Donald J. Trump never signed it, nor the side letter. Cohen says, no, he did not. So who made up David Dennison and Peggy Peterson? Cohen says, Keith Davidson knew someone named Dennison. I don't know how Peggy was picked. And Blanche says, you were a lawyer at the Trump Organization. The prosecution says, all right, Your Honor, may we approach? And Blanche continues. And he says, you worked for the apprentice for the Trump Organization, correct, Mr. Cohen? Cohen says, I think it was for Mr. Trump personally. And you did legal work for Don Jr. too? Cohen says, yes. And you never had a retainer agreement? Cohen says, I did not. And Todd Blanche says, all right, put up People's Exhibit 202 in evidence. And this is Cohen's FEC statement. And Blanche continues the questioning. And he says, Mr. Cohen, you said, quote, just because something isn't true doesn't mean it can't cause you harm or damage, quote. You told reporters this was true. Cohen says, I did. And you recorded yourself. Cohen says, yes. And Judge Bertrand says, all right, why don't we stop here? And now we have Trump's lawyer, Emile Beauvais. They are doing some housekeeping. And Emile Beauvais says, our expert, Mr. Smith, on campaign contributions, now the arguments are different with the draft the jury instruction just got. And Judge Bertrand says, I have not approved anything. And Emile Beauvais says, we had addressed definitions, the case of Congressman Jim Moran. We don't want to tread on the court's instruction. This testimony could sum in Monday. Could sum in Monday. I don't know what that means. Maybe it could end sometime in Monday. I don't know. But the prosecution says 95% of what he'd say runs afoul of Your Honor's ruling. And Judge Bertrand says, I previously ruled Smith may not testify as a lay fact witness, only generally on the FEC. I'll read both submissions this week, and until you hear differently, my ruling has not changed. Very limited, very general. And he says, scheduling, I want to avoid big breaks. Maybe we can start early and work late, but no Wednesday. How much more do you have for Mr. Cohen? And Blanche says, I'll be done with cross before the morning break on Monday. And the prosecution says, no more witnesses. And Blanche says, we could finish witnesses on Monday. That's without considering Mr. Trump. And Bertrand says, pre-charge conference on Monday. Be ready for summations Tuesday. And court is adjourned. And that's what we have for today, guys. What did you guys think? Once again, Todd Blanche just grilling Michael Cohen. And I wonder what the jury is thinking here, because they are watching this whole thing play out. And they're probably like, what is going on? They're probably trying to put all the pieces together. I hope, at least. And I hope that they can see clearly what this prosecution is really about. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Michael Cohen's testimony today? Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.